Welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into the mechanics of a truly wild social experiment. We're breaking down a massive physical and mental crucible created by Mr. Beast. Imagine this. Two strangers placed on a platform suspended way up in the air, battling the elements, shrinking resources, and ultimately, themselves. Let's get right into it.
So what actually happens to human sanity when your world literally shrinks with every mistake you make? Well, we are about to dive into this psychological pressure cooker and drop right into the high-stakes reality these contestants faced. You see, this wasn't just about shivering in the cold or eating terrible food. Oh no, this challenge was meticulously designed to strip away their safety nets one bad decision at a time, until they were left with absolutely nothing but extreme isolation and a massive test of human ego.
Part 1. The Sky-High Setup. We're going to kick things off by looking at the sheer, terrifying scale of the physical environment they were forced to endure.
100. The participants were trapped on a platform exactly 100 feet in the air. And guys, this wasn't some simulated green screen drop. They were totally exposed to the wind, relentless rain, and the elements. Think about it. If a pillow blew off the edge, boom, it was gone forever. And obviously, if a contestant fell, they lost instantly.
30. To win, they had to survive in these tiny, damp tents on a swinging platform for 30 consecutive days. Sure, they were given some crates with basic survival gear and military-style rations, but man, from the very first night, the freezing wind and rain made it abundantly clear that lasting a full month up there, that was going to be an agonizing physical grind. $250,000. The reward for enduring this nightmare was a life-changing $250,000. That's the massive golden carrot dangling at the end of those 30 days, and really the only thing keeping them from just walking over to the edge and throwing in the towel right then and there.
Now we've got Angus versus Allison. And what's really fascinating here is how their polar opposite backgrounds dictated their entire survival strategy right from day one. The creators intentionally cast two wildly different people. On one hand, you have Angus, a UK reality TV star who openly admitted that money has never made him happy, and he made it very clear he actively hated his tiny, damp tent. But on the flip side, you have Allison. She's a construction worker. She's used to harsh conditions, she's highly motivated, and she is absolutely determined to win that money to start a company with her brother. So right out of the gate, their starting mindsets could not have been more different.
Part 2. A twisted game theory. But you know, the elements weren't the only enemy up there. The creators introduced a brilliant psychological twist that completely altered their relationship.
Implicit competition. It's a scenario where supposed teammates are actually financially incentivized for their partner to quit, since the remaining person gets to keep the entire prize pool. So, unlike your standard team survival challenge where a prize is split evenly, here if one person leaves, the experiment keeps going. By promising all the cash to the last one standing, the dynamic instantly shifted from cooperative survival to this quiet, paranoid competition. In fact, after hearing Angus be so incredibly dismissive about the prize money, Allison literally set a private goal to make it to the end and take the entire prize pool for herself. They were literally incentivized to watch each other break.
Part 3. The Fall of Angus. Let's move into this next phase and see exactly how this escalating pressure, combined with some brutal physical challenges, really began to break him down.
We've got a timeline here. Day 5, Angus misses a target. Day 10, Angus falls asleep. Day 15, Angus attempts the balance beam. This perfectly illustrates the concept of the shrinking platform, because every human error Angus made literally deleted a quarter of their physical safety. So on day 5, they had to throw tennis balls at a target to win upgraded tents. Well, Angus missed, costing them the shelter and a massive section of their glass floor. Then on day 10, he accidentally fell asleep while managing a button designed to stop a saw blade. He failed, which sent 30 days of high-quality food plunging straight to the ground, and it cost them another quarter of their floor. By day 15, desperate for some kind of redemption, he attempted to cross a narrow, 30-foot balance beam. His legs were shaking, he lost his balance, and he fell, completely eliminating himself from the competition.
All I'm doing is just making things worse. I feel I'm gonna go.
Man, before his elimination, the psychological toll of these diminishing returns had already just completely crushed his spirit. Like he said, Angus realized he was becoming a massive liability to Allison's game. Every mistake he made wasn't just a personal failure for him, it was actively destroying the literal world they were standing on.
Part 4. Surviving solo. So, with Angus gone, Allison inherited the entire potential prize pool, but she also inherited the devastating weight of total isolation.
Say hello to Angus. It's just like Angus, but a little cooler. Are you going to sit there and just watch, or are you going to help? Okay, these raw moments absolutely capture her descent into extreme boredom and isolation as the days dragged on. With half a floor missing and literally no one to talk to, the silence became deafening. She actually started talking to a red supply box, naming it after her former partner, just to keep herself sane.
Then we have the balloon sniping challenge. Sensing she was struggling with the boredom, the creators threw in this cruel 24/7 stressor, turning her physical safety into a constant test of vigilance and archery. They covered the remaining platform in razor-sharp spikes, and every single day, a balloon would randomly rise up. She had to sit there, bow drawn, sometimes for hours on end, and snipe that balloon before it hit the spikes. If she missed, she lost yet another panel of her remaining floor. Talk about pure psychological exhaustion.
But hey, it wasn't all torture. Check this out. A literal Starbucks built in the sky, a dedicated personal barista named Josiah, and a hidden $50,000 gift card. On day 25, she was thrown this bizarre, highly caffeinated lifeline that totally boosted her morale for the final stretch. The creators literally hoisted a fully functioning Starbucks setup into the sky. And even better, they hid that 50 grand Starbucks gift card in her crates, which she found almost immediately. This huge jolt of joy, and obviously caffeine, gave her the exact energy she needed to survive those final grueling days of balloon sniping.
Part 5. The Final Gamble. This brings us to day 29, the absolute climax of this explainer, where the ultimate psychological test was unveiled.
Would you walk away with a guaranteed $300,000 or risk it all on a wobbly balance beam for $500,000? With just one day left, the creators brought back the exact same 30-foot balance beam that had eliminated Angus. They made Allison this unbelievable offer. If she could walk across it and back, they would double her prize money, bringing her total to $500,000. But, and this is a massive but, if she fell, just like Angus did, she would go home with absolutely $0.
My ego is telling me I can do it. I hate that my ego tells me I could do it. So the crucial point here is that this was no longer just a math problem, right? It was a straight-up battle against human ego and the desire to show off. She had spent 30 days suffering, and her confidence was whispering to her that she could conquer this final, super dramatic physical feat in front of the whole world. She even had her brothers shouting encouragement all the way down from the ground. It was incredibly tempting to try and prove she was invincible.
So, what does she do? 1. She acknowledges the ego's desire to attempt the feat. 2. She recognizes the devastating cost of failure. And 3. She accepts that surviving the 30 days is already the maximum victory. By breaking down her logical reasoning step by step like this, Allison masterfully conquered her own ego. She acknowledged her urge to show off, sure, but she forced herself to vividly imagine the devastating reality of slipping and going home totally empty-handed after a whole month of torment. Ultimately, she officially declined the challenge, stating that just walking away with something after enduring the 30 days was the fullest extent of victory. And by doing so, she locked in her $250 grand plus that massive gift card.
After locking in her winnings, Allison tried to walk the beam just for fun. But wait, because what happened right after she locked in her money is honestly the most poetic twist of this entire experiment. With her massive payout safely secured and the pressure supposedly off, Allison decided to go ahead and try crossing the balance beam anyway, just to see if her ego was right.
And she fell. She stepped out, the beam wobbled, she completely lost her balance, and she fell. Hanging there in her safety harness, she just burst into laughter, realizing that her logical brain had literally just saved her from total financial ruin. If she had let her ego make the decision for her, she would have lost absolutely everything on the very last day.
In a shrinking world designed to break you, is the ultimate victory simply knowing when to conquer your own ego and walk away? It leaves us with this final thought. We so often think of survival as just enduring the cold, eating bad food, and staying physically tough. But as Allison brilliantly demonstrated high up in the clouds, sometimes the absolute hardest survival skill to master isn't braving the elements. It's having the mental discipline to conquer your own ego, ignore the applause, and know exactly when you've already won.